Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Casserly. I'm the Executive Director of the Council of the Great City Schools. The Council is a coalition of the nation's largest urban public school districts. And with us this morning is a number of big city school superintendents and school board members from these urban school districts across the country. We'd like to say just a few opening remarks. I'm going to ask Barbara Jenkins, who is the superintendent of the Orlando schools, the Orange County Public Schools in Florida, and Eric West, who's a member of the school board in Kansas City, Missouri, to also make a number of opening statements, and then we'd be happy to take any questions that you have. We just left a very productive and very optimistic meeting with President Obama about the administration's education agenda and the progress that the nation's urban public schools have been making under the initiatives that he has launched. We called attention to the fact that the investments that this administration has made over the last 6 years or so have been instrumental in spurring the progress that urban public education has seen in improving academic performance and reducing the dropout rates. You probably saw this morning that the U.S. Department of Education put out new statistics demonstrating that the dropout rates are going down across the board in schools across the country, and it's really been because of the work of so many of the urban educators with me today that's produced some of those numbers. We called the President's attention to the jeopardy that our progress is in if those investments don't continue, if a budget comes out of Congress that pulls back on those education investments. And we called attention to the fact that in the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, we needed to maintain the financial support for our districts and maintain the financial infrastructure behind the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that we currently have. And we shouldn't be compromising on those provisions and risk the fragile progress that urban schools across the country are making. We talked about our implementation of high standards across the country. We talked about our implementation of various school turnaround models. We talked about the role that we are playing in coordinating and spurring activity under My Brother's Keeper and a number of other initiatives that we are in partnership with this administration on. So with that, let me ask Barbara Jenkins, the superintendent of the Orange County, Florida Public Schools, to say a word, and ask Eric West of Kansas City to say a word.
Thank you, Mike. Certainly it was an honor for us to sit with President Obama this morning to have that discussion. His concerns certainly match our concerns. We are thrilled that we are on the same page around those issues. What it really boils down to is whether or not this country will turn back the clock around urban education issues, but we continue to want equity for all of our children in all of our schools, or will we turn back the clock for some children don't count as much. We believe we have this president's commitment, and certainly many of our congressional legislative delegations, that will not happen in this country. In a country with as much affluence as we have, we cannot overlook our children that come from less affluent backgrounds. And so to hear the president's commitment around the EFBA reauthorization, as well as his concerns over budget issues, were all heartening to us as urban school leaders and board members. I think I can speak on behalf of not just the urban leaders that are here in town this week, but all across this nation. We believe in high standards. We want to see the work done. We want accountability. We don't back away from testing accountability. We run to the challenge because our young people across this country are certainly capable. They just have to have the appropriate resources to get the work done. And so we will, not only with initiatives such as ESG reauthorization, but also with my brother's keepers, that this president has been committed to continue to the youth of this country. This is a wonderful thing.
The remarkable successes that you've heard about and that we had opportunity to share with our president today don't come about by taking resources away from the neediest children in this nation. Young people who are already overcoming tremendous adversity to do remarkable things in each of our schools. But how we support them is by continuing to get behind policies that direct resources to where they're needed most. And so what we don't do is we don't begin to try to implement policies that would redirect resources from low-income communities to more affluent communities. What we do is we stand behind a president who is willing to hold us accountable and to support testing and the responsible use of assessment, but at the same time to support the relationship development growth and the instructional growth and the work that's happening in the schools that are represented here. We do that by standing behind this president's initiatives for My Brother's Keeper and looking at new ways to reach out to our young men of color in this country who so often are struggling the most. We do that by standing behind the president's strong and bold stance against portability and this idea that we'll take money away from where it's most needed. We do that by continuing to look at new ways within our own organizations to reduce redundant or unnecessary testing that's not supporting the instructional needs of our children, while at the same time affirming the use of the type of assessments that actually help us understand what our children need, help us differentiate instruction, and help maintain a rigorous system of accountability so that we can know beyond a shadow of a doubt that not only are our districts growing overall, but that all of our children are growing as well. We're so grateful for the leadership that our president provides. We're eager to hear your questions.
Park testing started this month. Is the issue of Common Core and an overemphasis on, or what a lot of people see as an overemphasis on testing? As
Two districts that have just finished administering BARC or in the midst of it right now, maybe Ty Anderson from Washington, D.C. Just to let everybody know, we have the superintendent here from Fresno, California, Washington, D.C., school board member from Oakland, California, the superintendent of the St. Paul Public Schools, the head of the school committee in Boston, the superintendent of the San Francisco Public Schools, the superintendent of the Cleveland Public Schools, the superintendent of the Milwaukee Public Schools, superintendent of the El Paso Public Schools, plus Mr. West from Kansas City. So Kaya, would you like to speak to the board?
Sure. This is DC Public Schools' second week implementing park testing, and we've been in preparation for this for the last 3 years, from redesigning our curriculum and providing professional development for our teachers to providing our young people with online assessments so that this wouldn't be the first time that they are encountering that. And our young people and our teachers are rising to the occasion. We've invested in technology, both increasing our broadband and providing the tools that are necessary. And we've had some minor glitches, but otherwise all reports are that our young people are successfully completing the exams, and we're looking forward to the results.
Collectively, what is the biggest project for urban schools that needs the most funding collectively, and why is there in 2015 a conversation about still bridging the gap between lower income and richer school districts?
So that really is the crux of the work that we do as urban school educators. The gap exists because there's been a gap in opportunities for our students, particularly our historically disadvantaged students in the historically disadvantaged communities. We know that America is a nation of immigrants, yet the experience in our public schools for our students that are not English language learners, that are English language learners, for example, has been politicized not as an educational issue, but as a political issue. What we stand firm as educators is saying that we will teach whatever student walks through our doors, and that every student deserves not only a high quality, rigorous education, but that we're willing to hold ourselves accountable for ensuring that all of our students are able to meet those that high bar that we've set. That is not doable until we as a nation stop considering education as an expense, but rather as an investment in the future of our children, but in the future of our nation as well. So collectively, I would say we all feel that educating all of our students, not some of our students, but all of our students to a high level is incredibly important and remains at the forefront of our collective achievements.
What's your name and your school district?
Richard Carranza, Superintendent of the San Francisco Public Schools, San Francisco Unified School District, San Francisco, California.
And collectively, again, what is the biggest item that you need funding increases for? What is the biggest collectively for urban schools?
Well, just to be clear, we have said that we need the resources in education so we can be implementing high standards, so we can be putting the materials in place that we need, so we can be securing the highest qualified teachers, that we can lower our class sizes, particularly in the early grades when it makes a big difference. So we can start putting into place early childhood programs to close out that achievement gap that often we see when the kids come to class just in kindergarten. We need the resources from the federal level to ensure that those opportunities are provided, because we know that those are the things that actually produce higher academic attainment for our kids and close up the achievement gaps that we're working so hard to close.
Let me just add one thing to that as well for your question. I want to be clear. The danger really is that we will lose some of our current funding. And while we can use additional resources, absolutely the real danger through either sequestration in the budget process or through tinkering with Title I and ESEA language around funding, that we can actually lose some of our current level of resources as well. So I wanted to make that clear.
Republicans are saying that all they're trying to do is transfer funds from low-performing schools to better-performing schools. So what's wrong with giving low-income minority students a better chance at better schools?
So we weren't asking for the topics. We're asking for the president to help us fund that. And the reason that you do that is because the children that we're working with have needs that we have adapted entire institutions to specifically meet. And so this idea that we will just send children out to whatever other school district that this Republican legislation perceives that they might be better served in, absolutely is not supported. In Kansas City, we have aggressively looked at this idea of whether our low-income males of color are best served in Kansas City public schools or in surrounding suburban school districts. And overwhelming. Well, what the evidence suggests is that the systems and the supports that we've put in place are not being replicated in other districts. And so that what we are doing, we know works. We've seen consistent increase in literacy and numeracy and graduation rates, and we want to continue that. But in order to do so, we have to prevent a theft from occurring. And fortunately, we have a president who stands with us on that.
I'm wondering if any of the superintendents are meeting with Republican leadership in Congress while they're in town.
So individual members of our school districts will be meeting with their congressional delegations, Republican or Democrat, and they'll be meeting with both while they're in town. So I also want to say that we strongly support the president's budget for FY16 because it does invest more money in programs like Title I, Title III for English language learners and the like. So we do support additional funds, but we certainly oppose, as Eric West indicated, a bank robbery on our poorest kids.
Secretary Duncan, what's the strategy then to get more money and not lose funding for more teachers, early childhood education, and produce higher achievement?
First of all, I think the only way we get more money is to continue to get great results. And what the president announced today was nationwide high school graduation rates at all-time highs, dropout rates down significantly, and every segment of the population is improving. White kids, Latino kids, black kids, children with special needs, poor children. It's remarkable to see that kind of progress. And I just want to thank all of these superintendent and board members and the Council of Great City Schools for their leadership. And it's just so important that we continue to make sure that every single child has a chance to be successful. the children they work with are largely poor, are largely students of color, and they make no excuses. They challenge the status quo every single day, and the nation is getting better in large part because of their leadership. So I think we can all go to Congress in a bipartisan way. There's nothing political about this. Our graduation rates have to continue to climb. Our dropout rates have to continue to go down. We are thrilled with the progress, but we are nowhere near where we need to be. And no one benefits when we have more high school dropouts. The entire nation benefits when we have more high school graduates. And education is the ultimate investment. We have to educate our way to a better economy. We have to work, put politics and ideology to the side. I could care less about that. Let's do the right thing for children, for our families, and ultimately for the nation.
Mr. Secretary, can you comment on whether you're planning to do an investigation at the University of Oklahoma?
I don't know all the details there, and obviously it's been very, very troubled by what we've seen and heard, but I think the university's handling it as well, and we'll continue to keep a very close eye on it. And the kinds of questions I'd want to know, is this a couple individuals, or is this systemic? Was this part of the culture of that fraternity, for years? Is it true in other fraternities at other universities?
How much money will you need collectively for the urban schools and just schools in general in this nation